Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Ankita. I'm a software engineer at American Express, where the team that I am on works on building APIs and microservices. And today I like to talk about moving from REST API to GraphQL with a structured thinking approach. Since this is a lightning talk and I have just 15 minutes and I like to cover all that I have, if I'm not able to take up questions at the end, please feel free to reach out to me separately on Twitter or LinkedIn. So before we deep dive into GraphQL, let's begin with REST APIs first. Throughout the talk, I'll be using this particular API as a reference. You can consider this example API as a wrapper around a data set for returning information related to health inspection of nearby restaurants. Any request for a REST API usually comprises of a few components. The first one is an HTTP method or verb that basically describes the operation that we would like to take against the API. And the second is the endpoint, that is an identifier for the part of the API that we want to interact with. So if we execute this request on restaurant's endpoint, we'll get back a response that looks like this. The API is returning a JSON and it comprises of resources. So if we take a look at one of those resources, one of the resources, then we can see few components in the response. Basically attributes like name of the restaurant, the ID, address, cuisine, and also you can see hypermedia that links us to another part of the API for information related to that resource. As you can see at the bottom, we have inspections URL here. And if we follow that link, we can get more information about the inspections that first restaurant has received. So we can say that we are actually dealing with a new resource now. Next, if we execute that request on inspections endpoint, you can see again that we get response with attributes related to the first restaurant inspection, like score, grade, etc. And again, hypermedia link to all of the violations URL received by a restaurant during a given inspection. So next, if we execute the violation request for a particular inspection on a specific restaurant, we again get response with more information, attributes, and hypermedia. So with this example, you can notice that that as we make more calls to these requests or resources, we can get full picture of the data that the client may need. But if you imagine a desktop application like this, you can see that it takes numerous requests for us to determine the information that we may need as a client. So here the client would have to call the restaurants, inspections, violations, 3 separate endpoints to get all the data. Similarly, mobile application would also need to make multiple calls to these resources to get all the data. Okay, now the next question that arises is, what if we want to put our clients first and wanted better developer experience for the API consumers? For this, let's move to GraphQL, which is a data query language for our APIs. So GraphQL is a query language specification. It's been implemented in a variety of languages like Ruby, JavaScript, Python, and so on. It was originally created by Facebook to help with the data access needs of the clients. If you see the screen, now here we have a post HTTP verb and a single GraphQL endpoint. And the reason we have to use post is that client has to send information to the GraphQL server in this case. So basically, it's the query that we would like the server to execute. Also, GraphQL server has different components. Primarily, there are queries and the fields. If you see our query on the left-hand side, we are basically defining the query type, that is restaurant, and also actually passing an argument, which is the name of the restaurant for which we would like to fetch the information. This is a convenient way for us to pass relevant information to the GraphQL server, and the server would send back the response based on the information that we are looking for as defined in our input request query. On executing this query, we get a response that is there on the right. And if you see, that is structured exactly like the query. So that's the power of GraphQL. So next, let's look at a feature of GraphQL, one that it is typed. Behind the scenes, there is a schema, and it's the schema that GraphQL server is querying to build up the desired response. So each part of the query has a corresponding entry in the schema. So if we break down each part of the query, we can see the root query is restaurant, which takes name as an argument, and that is it is of type string, and it returns back the restaurant type, which is also defined with a few fields like name and cuisine. GraphQL type system actually is very powerful because it actually helps us to determine whether a query is even valid or not. So say if someone sends the name argument as something that is not string, then we can simply fail the request as we don't support that. One interesting idea about GraphQL is that we can get multiple resources in one round trip. So if you notice, this actually contrasts to the earlier idea of the REST APIs, where we had to make multiple requests to multiple endpoints to get the full picture of the data that the client would want. So now if you see, client devices can actually utilize the same one GraphQL endpoint, which is the GraphQL server, and get the data that they want. Okay, now next question that comes up is, can GraphQL easily be layered on top of REST APIs? Well, I would say it's not that easy. And the reason is because GraphQL is focused on building schema and APIs which are product-centric. And on the other hand, REST is focused on building decoupled applications. So they are completely different goals and may end up confusing the user or the person who's actually building the schema. And he or she might wonder what they're actually building. Also, if we have to move from REST to GraphQL, what happens sometimes is that our thinking becomes biased because we are used to thinking in traditional way of defining endpoints, which actually affects our GraphQL schema design as well. To understand this, let's first look at the REST way of thinking, which is, as we know, is in terms of defining endpoints. So for that, we'll go back to our restaurants use case. As we had defined multiple endpoints the way we did for the use case earlier. So we'll have the restaurants, we'll have the ID, and then we'll have a separate endpoint to get the inspections for a particular restaurant ID. And then we'll have a separate endpoint to get the violations for a particular inspection for a particular restaurant ID. Now, if we have to move to GraphQL, the same use case that we had, let's look at the GraphQL way of thinking, which would be thinking in terms of graphs. Now, the first point that we have to understand is about the GraphQL schema design. So there are a few points that one should actually keep in mind for designing the GraphQL schema when we are moving from REST to GraphQL. So we should try to model the schema as a set of connected trees and try to build a graph out of it, and also try to focus on user and not on UI. What that means is that we should think from user's perspective and define actions that the user would like to perform on your application. And with those user actions, you should try to cover all the possible product flows that you might have in your application. So in our example, if I say these would be the user actions primarily, so a user or a client would want to view all the restaurants, view each restaurant using the ID or the name, get information about a specific restaurant, then list down all the inspections for a particular restaurant ID, or for a particular restaurant ID and specific inspection, list down all the violations. Okay, now once we have the user actions defined, our next step is to do the noun analysis. In this step, what we should do is to highlight the nouns that are involved in the description of our user actions, and to identify objects and try to build a sort of an ER diagram out of it. So if you see in the box below, what I've done is in the user actions, I've actually highlighted or bolded the nouns that we had on those user actions. So primarily we have three nouns for our use case: restaurants, inspection, and violations. Now, this is what our example would look like. So you just now need to define the relationships between the nouns that we had identified in the previous step. No need to follow any sort of flowchart or rules. Just write all the types that we had found out as part of the noun analysis exercise, and think of the relationships which they may have. So you will realize that as you build relationships, we will move towards building the GraphQL schema. So in this, if you see, a restaurant may have one or more inspections, right? And a violation would actually belong to a restaurant. And similarly, I've defined a relationship between an inspection and violation, because one inspection can have one or more violations. After these, all you have to do is to combine all the relationships, and you will end up with something like this. And this is actually what we wanted to build. We wanted to build a GraphQL schema which looks like a graph and not disconnected different trees. And the corresponding schema that you see on the right also looks very clean, and it's much more scalable. So if you see the graph that we have out of our nouns, restaurant, violation, and inspection, it's bases the relationships that we had defined. And on the right, if you see the schema, we have actually defined types on each of the nouns. And we have, in each of the type, we have different fields. So say for restaurant type, we have an ID field. And in each of the type, we have actually the linkages of the other types. So restaurants can have one or more inspections. It will have a field with name inspections, which can be a list of type inspection, and so on. So yeah, this is the whole crux you get when you think structurally and when you think in a defined manner, and would end up with a schema that's much more scalable. Now, next question that might come up in your head is that how does it benefit, right? So it helps you to focus primarily on domain interfaces, promotes user-driven development. Also, it allows multiple personas to utilize the APIs, be it backend engineer, product manager, solutions engineer, the engineering manager. This is all that I had from the talk. Hopefully you had an enriching experience. If you have any questions on how to migrate a REST API to GraphQL and how to build the GraphQL schema, please feel free to reach out to me.